Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops and DeFi University DeFi High Edition, where we teach entry-level DeFi Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern time, which is where David's at in the free state of Florida.
That's
David,
exactly
how's it
right,
going, brother?
Mike. Outstanding, Mike. Doing well today, man. Hey, we've got a lot to talk about, though. With
We
that,
do. We should probably get right into it.
yes, we should. Here, let me go ahead and share my screen, Mike. Let's hop into this and let's take a look. I want to share. I'm actually going to share.
David, are you part black? I heard a fire alarm.
Oh no, just
the chirp of a fire alarm.
No. It's electronics. So let's see here. I want to take a look over at TradingView, Mike. That's what I want to look at. So check this out. This is your beloved.
Hold on. Let's
if you can
hop on over to here. All right, there we go.
Yeah,
I'll wake up at some point. I even worked out this morning, and I'm still still need to.
I mean, dude, take a look at Canton. Okay,
Oh,
so this one, I just want to start off with Canton real quick because as the rest of the market has, fallen out of bed and taken a little bit of a dump here, Canton just continues to motor higher. So I wanted to point this one out first because this is a beautiful example of a cup with handle pattern.
And the slight breakout.
And the breakout. Yeah. And so we're getting the breakout. So this one looks pretty darn good to me. Now I haven't bought it just because I can't do so out of a decentralized wallet. It requires that you trade this on a centralized exchange, and well, I don't trust.
Actually, you might want to look at using the Braun wallet. You can do it. You can do it in there. You can swap for it in there.
Okay, so
you can use ETH and swap for Canton.
Okay, so how?
Just go to I think it's braun.org, and that's where I'm actually earning a free Canton just holding it there.
Huh. Sweet, man. I definitely have to check that out. What?
I'll show you real quick before we kick it off.
Very interested to take a look at that.
All right, let me verify I'm a human being. All right. All right. So, yeah, I mean, basically you just download this wallet and you can, deposit Ethereum, Bitcoin, Pol. There's a bunch of different assets that you can deposit, but then you can swap. So you can just swap for it.
Got it. Okay. So what I would do here is I would run a Gemini deep research prompt on this Braun wallet. In fact, I'll just do that right now as we're speaking.
Yeah, well, here I'll throw it up so people can see how to do that.
Yeah. So here, let me go ahead and share my window here. I'm going to share a different screen so that we can take a look at that together. And I'm going to share this here. I'm going to bring on over to my.
I think Big Lou's asking you, is that vodka with the bloodbath in the markets?
Oh man, you know what? It's been a pretty historic crash, and so I definitely want to get to that too. But I want to start things off here so that we can just learn how to use this as a research tool. So this is extremely powerful as a research tool. So remember, garbage in, garbage out. But that also means that if you give Gemini a great prompt, you'll get a phenomenal response. So please write a prompt for Gemini Deep Research to examine everything to do with the, what is it, BRON?
BRON.
Yeah, and so what's the URL there, Mike?
It's braun.org.
Braun.org.
App.braun.org.
Got it. Okay, braun.org. Okay, so now with the Braun wallet, there we go, braun.org. So now what it's going to do is it's going to write me a prompt specific for Gemini Deep Research. And so now I've got this prompt. I'm going to go ahead and copy this here. And there we go. Now I can take this prompt, change the mode to Deep Research, new chat, make sure I set it to Pro, paste in that prompt, hit go, And now, in a couple of seconds, it's going to give me a research outline. So this research plan. And then once it gives me the research plan, I'm just going to hit go. And this is, you know, basically going to give me a ton of high quality research on that Braun wallet. And then once I know more about it, I'll feel a lot more comfortable, maybe potentially using it.
All right.
So start research. Awesome. Okay, man. So let's do this. I want to change the screen that I'm sharing so that I can share TradingView one more time because, look, it was a pretty historic crash that we saw over the weekend here. So I just want to hop in here and take a peek at BTC, ETH, Sol, maybe a handful of other digital assets here. We could touch on gold and silver just real quick before we hop into the DeFi high school. So taking a look here, Mike, at BTC. Remember, I was talking about this bear flag pattern?
Yep. I do
And
remember that.
the bear flag pattern, when it broke down, it then confirmed. And so where is Bitcoin trading now? It is trading just above exactly where I said it was going to go. I was thinking that it was going to go to 74, 74.3, and dude, it tagged it nearly to the tick. And so I was buying Bitcoin at 75.2.
Hit it right on the titties.
It really did, man. So, last night I was buying it 75.2 and just added a little bit more to a long position a few minutes ago. I've been buying Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. I was buying them last night, basically like bottom ticked the buys. So I think that there's probably some more legs out of this bounce here. This is, if we just take a look at BTC, this is some long-term support. So this should be a level where we get a pretty decent bounce.
Well, and it also was resistance there for a while.
It was. So if you notice, and that's a good point, man. Let me give everyone a second to understand why this is support. So Mike, back here.
Oh, and why it's just in general, just such an important level.
Yeah. So definitely. And so if we go back in time to March of 2024, notice right here, that 74K level, it was resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And then resistance, but below that level. And resistance below, resistance below. Now, if we zoom in here a little ways and we take a look right here, when was that? That was October 2024, right before the election. So that initial pump and then gave some back, but notice where it got rejected, right at like 74K. And then after the election, the breakout. And so that's the important thing. This was resistance here, but then when that level of resistance breaks and when it broke, it flipped and became support. Mm-hmm. So when a level of resistance breaks, it becomes support. And when a level of support breaks, it becomes resistance.
And that's what's important right now is we need this to hold as support, because if it goes below and confirms, then it goes back to being resistance.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that will actually end up happening over the next couple of months. And I'll show you why, but not right now. I think that this bounce probably continues for a little bit. That's the way I'm trading it. So this breakout right here, that turned this level into support. And notice it held a support here. And just last night and earlier today, it held as support once more. Mm-hmm. So I think that if there's a third test of support, I think it probably breaks. And so this is why I think it probably breaks. If I take a look at total crypto market cap, so this is, mostly Bitcoin, but it's not just Bitcoin. So when I take a look at this here, notice on
still got a ways to go.
Yeah, it's still got a ways to go, but also this long-term trend line support. Mm-hmm. Notice the number of tests of this level of support here. So this is the anchor point right there that I selected. Here's the first test. Here is, not quite the second test. And the third test right there, fourth, fifth, and it broke. So the more times a level of support or resistance gets tested, the more likely it is that it fails. Okay. And so that's what we saw right here. Usually after the third or fourth test, you'll see it fail.
would you say that that's, somewhat of an indicator of stronger selling pressure because it's, kind of being pushed down towards that line?
I think that
Like,
I think that
what would you think that, makes it, want to bounce across that, and then, obviously, dip below it?
yeah, so the bounces here, I think that it's just purely based on technicals. Like anyone in the world can throw up a chart of total market cap and they can see this just like I can.
I was
So
just kinda I don't wanna get too deep into it, but I was just kinda curious about, what you felt was the psychology behind, just the fact that it is a pattern that does repeat. I mean, it's because that's really all the candle chart is it's a reflection of the emotion, the buying and the selling, and, if it's huge red candles, then it's, huge sell-offs. If it's big green candles, it's people FOMOing in or so it's a representation in a way of the emotions of the market.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all of the data that we have from all market participants
Mhm.
all at once, just right there in front of us. And, the important thing for me, Mike, is this breakdown. So, this breakdown of this level of trend line support, this to me is very significant. But even more so than just the breakdown is the fact that it hasn't found support yet.
Gotcha.
So you see, we're getting the bounce. The bounce is coming in, and this is a big hammer candle. So this is a big bounce. It might have some legs to it, but I don't think that the bottom is in yet. And I don't think the bottom is in because, hey, you know what? Total crypto market cap has not reached a significant level of support yet. It's just kind of hanging out in no man's land right here. So I think that, crypto could give up another $320 billion in market cap over the
Mhm.
next couple of months. And so if that's my kind of baseline expectation, well, then, that means that the Bitcoin bear market continues. And I think it probably continues for another couple of months, maybe into the summer. I think that we might start to form a bottom by like late summer. And I think that Bitcoin probably ends up making its way down. If I throw this onto a weekly, I think that Bitcoin probably ends up heading down here to like 60, high 50s, low 60s, something like that. And that's kind of, depends on how long it takes if it gets down there, maybe mid 60s. But every Bitcoin bear cycle has seen the 200-week moving average, which is this white line, get tested by Bitcoin. So it's great that we're seeing Bitcoin bounce at 75K. That's where we should expect. And that's where, it's great to see it
Yeah,
bounce. But I just don't think that this holds necessarily, just because, hey, Mike, you're talking about patterns, right? And
absolutely.
the pattern has been that, look, even though I don't believe in the Bitcoin halving cycle analysis, it doesn't matter if I believe or not because it's been right. Like, that's the weird thing.
Most people do, and again, this is
Yeah.
a reflection of, people's emotions, and if the majority or a good portion of the people do, then, the market's gonna move that way.
Yeah.
If everyone ignored the 4-year cycle and they just constantly bought, it'd just be nothing but green candles. If they just constantly sold, it'd be all red candles. So,
Yeah,
it's
man.
but, I mean, the one thing that I do wanna point out, is the importance of being able to read a chart enough to find these levels of support and resistance, these significant levels. It really is the kind of the beginning level, and in my opinion, the easiest thing to learn when, reading these charts. There's all kinds of patterns that you can learn and, the inverted head and shoulders and, all that stuff, and I'll be honest, I'm not a chart guy. But simply understanding lines of support and resistance helps me immensely in DeFi with picking ranges. It helps me with understanding these charts and, like David's going over right now with, understanding if we could potentially go lower as far as price on some of these assets, the market overall. It's key to understand just these simple, trend lines and lines of support and resistance. So I just wanted to point that out real quick.
You're exactly right, Mike. And so you really only need three things to be successful as a technical analyst. Only three. You need to be able to identify support, resistance,
And
and
money.
trend. And so those three things, man, support, resistance, trend. You can do those three things, you're golden. And you don't need to overcomplicate it. I see so many people when they're starting out, learning technical analysis, and they've got, like 10 different indicators, and it's, there's the chart is messy, there's stuff
It,
everywhere. And
information overload.
yeah, and it's just it doesn't actually add to the value of the analysis at all.
Mhm.
I think that look, I usually have two lines and a moving average on a chart, and that's
Mhm.
it. Like even having the all-time high marked up here is overkill. All I need is this level of support
Mhm.
and this trend line support and the moving average. That's it. Done.
Yeah.
So and this is, in my opinion, significant analysis.
Actually, I mean, the trend line and the lines of support and resistance. I mean, you put on there. Can you just show people real quick how to add the EMA?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So here, let me just go ahead and remove that so you can see it more clearly. So the EMA, I actually have these up here. Let me just go ahead and hide this for a second. And all you got to do is up in the top here in trading view. And this
Mhm.
is really the most important thing is you need to become comfortable navigating around trading view.
Exactly.
And
That's kind of why I
yeah,
wanted to show this.
exactly. And TradingView is free, so anyone can use this. And I don't pay for this tool. I used to pay like $60 a month for TradingView.
Pretty much everything you see on this channel and
It's
all of our
free.
shows, we find free tools. Good quality free tools. In DeFi University, Metrics Finance, Trading View, DeFi Llama, RWA.xyz, data. You have charts. You have basically you have portfolio tracking tools, position simulate. I mean, you have that flight app
Yes.
that you built. It's
Yes.
everything here is free. So don't ever think that anything you see here, like we're shilling something or we're trying to get you to buy something. This is all free to use. So go ahead, David.
Mike, it's literally just a matter of, do you want it? Like, do you want to learn this for yourself? That's the
Yes.
only thing holding you back. Because if you want to learn it, money is not holding you back. It's just a matter of, do you want to dedicate the time to build this skill set for yourself? And it's actually pretty simple, especially when you have great mentorship. So over here, if I'm over in TradingView and I want to add a simple moving average or an exponential moving average, all I've got to do here is click on indicators. And from indicators, I can type in moving average like so. And so I've already got these favorited, but there are two. You're looking for, if you want to throw down a simple moving average, and that's what I prefer, I use simple moving average right here. Now, if you want to throw down an exponential moving average, and the difference between simple and exponential is exponential tends to move a little bit faster. Simple tends to move a little bit slower. It really is kind of a preference, almost like a personal preference, which one you use.
Yeah.
I just prefer the simple. And maybe I'm just a simple guy. So
You got to keep it simple, stupid.
exactly. Keep it stupid simple, So, and then once you click on it, you'll be able to see over here in the top left corner the SMA or the EMA. And so if I want to go ahead and throw down a 200, I'll just go ahead and click on it. Now, when I click on settings here, this is important, where it says length. So length in this context is referring to the time frame. So up here, if I'm on a weekly chart and I have this set the length to 200, what that means is this is going to give me a 200 week moving average. Now, if I were to change the time frame to a daily here, and then click on that SMA and click on settings, go back to length. Now, because I'm on a daily chart, this 200 length refers to 200 days. So that means that this white line now is a 200-day moving average. And again, if I were to just zoom in here to an hourly, now this 200 period or 200 length moving average is a 200-hour moving average. So in this context, when we're talking about length, period, those both mean time frame. So yeah, just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that. And why don't we just take a look at ETH and Sol before we hop into
All right.
the DeFi High School? So right here, Ethereum.
So we still got about 40 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah. So check this out, Mike. This is this is again an important level of long-term support here. So you remember during the Iran strike, when there was that first big Iran strike and ETH
When
dumped?
World War III was starting?
Yeah, it was one of those World War III scares. There have been a bunch of them.
I well, I was just laughing at we'll get I was just saying I was laughing at that. There's no way Iran is gonna start any kind of world war.
No, no, they're literally just a paper tiger
Yeah,
oppressing their own people. They basically enslaved an entire country.
yeah,
But this right here, this is long-term support at 21, call it 2150.
okay.
Notice where ETH found support last night. Check it out. Beautiful, beautiful support right there. So
And well,
really
and
nice
I'm
bounce.
actually keeping my, my liquidity pool, my range liquidity pool on, ETH USDC. I'm actually keeping it open because right now I'm all in on ETH. So I'm basically hodling more ETH than I started with because I entered that position with ETH. And so it DCA'd on the way down. So now I just have more ETH. And so I can exit that position and lock in that impermanent loss, or I can just keep the position open and basically be
So
holding.
Mike,
What's
here's the
that?
cool thing. Here's the cool thing about that position.
Oh,
So
please.
you may have, and you likely have, divergence loss in US dollar terms.
Okay.
But if you measure your position, instead of measuring it in US
ETH
dollar,
terms.
right, if you measure it in
I learned
ETH,
that from you. That's kind of why I'm saying this because
yeah,
I'm looking at all of. I started rewiring, because listening to you and Jake on Wednesday, I started rewiring my head and stopped looking at these assets in USD terms and started looking at them in ETH and Bitcoin terms and Canton and the asset terms. So anything I can do to get more of those assets, not in dollar terms, just token amount of tokens.
yeah, that's the way that I'm thinking about this here too, because even though I really like this test of support out of Ethereum, out of Bitcoin, and as we'll see in a second, out of Solana, I still think that these assets move lower over the next couple of months. And so I'm actually just keeping cash on the sidelines ready so that I can buy some of these tokens on the way down once I think they've sold off like 99%. Like some of these altcoins, I think can really move still much, much lower. And, Ethereum is an example. I think Bitcoin probably goes to the mid 60s, but ETH here, man, great bounce. But look at where support is. This is long term support all the way down here. So let me just share with everyone how I drew in this support. So I used the bear market low from 2022 of like 888. I use that as the anchor. This is referred to as an anchor point right there. And then I connected this low with the next higher low, which was, the sell-off lows from the tariff tantrum, and that was around 1350. So when I connected these 2 points, take a look at that. Now I've got trend line support. And so if this 2150 level does not hold, if it breaks, then the next level of support is going to be down here in the 15 or 1600 region for ETH. So for me, I know, but dude, it's such an amazing opportunity because if you zoom out,
If you have liquidity available, if you have some fiat or some stables available.
well, I mean, so for me, Mike, like I live my life on Ethereum. And when I just zoom out like this, so this might look ridiculous to some people, but I'm going to tell you why it's not. So if I get an opportunity, man, to buy ETH below $2,000, like 16, 1700 down here, I think ETH eventually goes to like 10 or 12K. And this move here, although that might seem like just nuts, right?
Yeah.
Look at what Bitcoin did. Bitcoin did the same thing. So if I just go ahead and grab that 2017 high and then I
Mhm.
connect it through to the 2020 and 2021, just the 2020 high right there. So if I just connect that through, if we were looking here at BTC, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't know there was no bull market that occurred. This is the depths of the bear market, and I'm sharing this with you, and I'm telling you, hey, Bitcoin over the next 24 months is going to touch $120,000.
People
When
would laugh.
people would have laughed at you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's a damn near a 10x from where it was trading. Well,
Mhm.
look at what happened, man. Boom, there's the test.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that ETH could do something similar just because ETH is so much more useful than Bitcoin. Um, and you take a look at something like Solana. Now, this is where it gets tricky
Love it or
because
hate it, you're right.
you know, yeah. So here's the problem with Solana. Solana's pattern is really ugly. That's the problem. So this is a pretty clear head and shoulders pattern.
Yeah.
And yes, Solana did hold support. If we just go ahead and zoom in here a little bit. So last night, as Solana was, breaking down towards support, I bought some. I think my entry was at 95 or 96 and 98, right here. So yeah, I got pretty darn close to the lows. I just bought it at support. And
Mhm.
I think that it bounces. I think that it bounces, but Solana is very inflationary, and Solana does not have the DeFi TVL that Ethereum and its layer twos have.
No, it doesn't.
And it just doesn't have the level of adoption that Ethereum has. And also, that Seeker phone, I've just been very disappointed by that Seeker phone. I don't know that that really means much for Solana, but I don't know. It just feels like an incomplete product. So I think that if Bitcoin breaks down to the 60s and ETH down below 2000, I kind of think that Solana could go to $30 or maybe $40. Um, yeah. So let that sink in for a second. Because when you take a look at this chart, this is all of this down here. This is just no man's land. This is NML.
Well,
And
and those don't remember, kind of where Solana took that huge dump, back there earlier on the chart there. That was back when FTX collapsed. Because I actually, one of my best buys was I bought Solana. I think it was like at $20 or 20 something dollars after it crashed from like I think it was 200 and something down to, because it was being kind of manipulated by FTX and CZ. They were, kind of propping it up and inflating it. And so whenever, all of that went down and it crashed down, I took a risk and bought a bunch of Solana. And then I think I ended up selling it at like 100 and something bucks. So I ended up like 4 or 5Xing.
see, that's what I'm thinking about with these tokens, though.
Yeah.
I don't think that Solana dies. I think that $30 Solana is a bargain. And so that's actually what I see here. I think that if Solana breaks 95, if Solana breaks below this level of support right there, which comes in right around 95, then there really isn't much by way of support until you get to $30. Like none of this is real support. The support is here at
Mhm.
$32. So I'm just thinking to myself, oh man, like now that we're starting to see this bear market pick up some steam, I'm waiting. I want to see this. I think that if we get a rally out of Bitcoin here, this will be a bear market rally. And bear market rallies are for selling. You sell a bear market rally. So I'm long. I'm playing the bounce right now. But, give it a little bit further and I'm going to exit those longs. I think that this eventually rolls over. And I think that that will mean that all of those altcoins like Sui, which I think probably goes to 50 cents, and Link, which, is very, very close to support. But if it breaks, $8, I think it goes to like maybe $5. And then you take a look at AVAX. AVAX, if I just go ahead and bring this into view here a little bit more closely, these are just a handful of the alts that I'm watching and waiting to buy. So AVAX, 850. And if AVAX breaks below 850, then, it could definitely move all the way down here to like $3 or something. And then XRP, this is just a complete dog shit coin. And I think that this thing goes down to 60 cents. Maybe it stops at $1.25 for a moment, but I think that it goes down to 60 cents or so. And so, Tau is another example of something that I would buy. And so Tau, if it breaks a dollar, 170, I think it goes back down to 90, or maybe even as low as 40, down in this zone down here. BNB is an interesting one. I quite like BNB just because they actually do stuff. Like that's that's kind of an important thing, is
Oh,
for
no, absolutely.
to do stuff and make money.
Well, I
Um,
mean, that's what I've been preaching to people for a while now, for, a couple of years now, is, kind of that old, crypto market where, everything is driven by retail and social media. It's people really need to start rewiring how they think of and invest in these projects long term. Where I think we've all seen that that's not what's driving these markets anymore. What's driving these markets is institutional adoption, institutional investment, government regulation, valuation. People are really starting to look at these projects where what is the cost benefit of buying these tokens? How does the revenue generated by these projects make its way back to token holders? That's
exactly.
that's another thing that I learned from you and Jake. And
Yeah.
and you would think that it's kind of common knowledge, but in the past markets where it was all hype and conjecture, it's and whatever got traction, whatever the narrative was, everyone would just chase narratives, and
I
so
mean,
it didn't really apply. But I don't think that's the
Mike,
way these markets are.
so some of these, dude, like I've worked with so many private clients over the last couple of years, and some people would come to me in the sessions. I would ask them, hey, so I saw in the survey that you told me that you bought a bunch of uni. Well, why did you decide to buy uni? And the answer would be like, me see post good. I like unicorn. It's like, dude, like, okay. So that's the extent of your research. Like, you like unicorn? And but seriously, man, maybe I'm being a little silly here, but the extent of the research for many investors in digital assets is not much more than that. Like, I saw a post on social media, it looked interesting, and so I bought it. But that's not analysis. I think that most people really don't understand these tokens at all, and that's what we're working to fix with DeFi High. So, Mike, you ready to hop on in here to some
Let's
DeFi
jump on in
High?
because we got about 30 minutes.
All righty, man. Let me go ahead and stop this share, and let's go ahead and bring up the different window here. And I want to make sure that I share my audio. We're going to hop on in. So we've got just a couple more lessons from the Money Basics course here, Mike. Just a couple more. We're going to start here. I think we're starting off with from cash to cards. And then over the next couple of days, we're going to get through how payment apps work, why transfers take days, and your money, your control. And then I just want to give everyone a preview of the next course because it's really cool. So over here in my GitHub, we are currently working through the Money Basics course. But if I take a look here at my repos, I want to take a look. So we're working through the Money Basics course, and these are the rest of them. So Intro to DeFi is the final course in the DeFi High School. Staying safe in crypto. We might actually go through that one next.
And
And then
again, all these are free.
it's all free. Everything's free here. So it's staying safe in crypto. I think that's going to be the next course that we go through, Mike. And then after that, we're going to take a look at crypto fundamentals and then first steps in crypto. So the staying safe in crypto course, I think this will be the next one that we run through. And I can just share what these look like real quick. And these are the lessons. So the lessons are all done and ready to rock and roll. All I've got to do is create the video content and the audio podcasts and then post it. And then we'll be able to run through that. So I think we'll be able to get through module 3, Mike, probably by the end of this week. And then we're going to start on the next course by the end of this week. So with all that said, Ben, let's take a look from cash to cards.
All right, let's talk about that little piece of plastic in your wallet. We use it every single day, right? Tapping, swiping, we don't even think about it. But each time you do, you're kicking off this hidden, super high-speed journey for your money. So let's pull back the curtain and actually see what's going on. I mean, it feels almost like magic, doesn't it? You tap your card, the little machine beeps, the light turns green, and you walk away with your coffee. But that simple, instant approval, that's just the tip of the iceberg. What's happening behind the scenes is way more complex and honestly, way more interesting than you'd probably guess. So here's the most important thing to get your head around first. When you use a card, you aren't actually sending money in that moment. It's not like handing someone a $5 bill. Think of cash like passing a note in class. It's a real, physical thing moving from one hand to another. A card payment? That's more like sending a message in a group chat. You hit send, and the information just gets updated everywhere at once. Your bank account, the store's account, a bunch of digital ledgers all sync up. No real money is moved yet. And that group chat message, that little piece of information you just sent?
So let's just highlight the custody implications of this. So when you pay with cash, you have custody of your cash. And so when you use that to buy goods or services in person, all of a sudden you're transferring custody of your asset, that cash.
Mm,
If you use a card
that
and
dirty, dirty fiat.
I mean, dude,
That fiat's been a bad, bad boy.
so like the thing here with the cards though, man, is if you've got like a credit card, right? And you swipe that at a terminal, you don't actually own anything, and you're just having it send a message from
No,
bank A.
you're moving ones and zeros.
Right, you're just moving ones and zeros. So passing a note and using physical cash, I think that this is much more akin to what you're actually doing when you make a stablecoin payment or when you buy something using digital assets. Because if you custody your digital assets, let's say that you custody your USDC, just as an example. In my opinion, USDC, USDT, that's cash. So if you custody that in your wallet and you make a payment to an individual or a business, that, in my opinion, is just like passing a note, just
Well,
like cash.
and I think that's what's important to a lot of people that, maybe have a negative outlook on crypto. They think crypto's a scam or whatever because they just haven't gotten involved in it yet. Is I don't think they realize that they're basically, with the modern banking system, they're pretty much using it already. They're using digital money. Because it's, again, you're, like David said, it's an IOU. When you look at in your app for your bank, and there's numbers on a screen, it's basically digital money. Because if you make a payment, it's just passing a note. It's just saying, Mike bought this from Amazon. This much of this digital money is sent to Amazon as payment. They send him the item. It's basically what's being done already. And that's why I honestly just think that there's going to be a time, because I mean, we see all the banks building all this stuff and institutions. It's just going to be a matter of time where everybody's using crypto and they're not even going to know it.
Yeah, they call that the mullet. You got
Yeah.
the
Business enough
TradFi. Yeah, exactly, man. You got the TradFi stuff in the front, and then you've got the DeFi rails in the back. Business in the front, party in the back. So, but this analogy I think is really important for everyone to understand, because the group chat analogy, where you're paying with a card and the bank owns the money, and the bank is just sending a message from its institution A to institution B, where you don't actually own anything. In this example, when you pay with a card or you pay with a debit card, even, you don't actually own anything. But here, when you pass a note, when you use physical cash, you have custody of that cash. You own that cash. Same thing with USDC. You own that asset. You custody that USDC, that USDT. So when you buy with stables, you're actually, transferring custody of your cash, which is different than when you basically just instruct a trusted third party to make a payment on your behalf. Because how many times, Mike, have you tried to use a credit card to buy whatever, and the bank says, hey, you know what, sorry, we're not going to allow you to make that payment?
Yeah, no, it happened to a lot of people when they were trying to buy crypto, with their even their debit card, not just a credit card.
Right.
The bank saying you can't spend your money
Exactly.
on crypto.
Right.
I mean, there was a long time that was going on, and people had issues to where they had to find workarounds. Luckily my bank didn't do that, but there was a lot of major banks that were cutting people off from any kind of crypto transactions.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And that's the difference between self-custody and everything else.
No real money has moved yet.
And that group chat message, that little piece of information you just sent, well, it kicks off this incredible journey. That 3-second approval you get at the register is just the very beginning of a process that can actually take days to finish.
It really breaks down into 3 main stages. First, you've got authorization. That's the 2 to 3 second magic trick where your bank gets a ping and says, yep, they've got the funds. Then hours later comes clearing. This is like the back office sorting process where all the transactions from the day get bundled up. And finally, there's settlement. This is the big one. This is when the actual real money finally moves from your bank to the store's bank. Just look at those timelines. We go from seconds to hours, all the way up to 3 days.
So crypto solves this entirely because you go from, initiating the transaction to settlement in a couple of seconds. So it removes all this friction, all of these intermediaries, all of the opportunities for banks to earn interest on float. It completely eliminates all of that. And it's so much better for the end user and for the business. Because if I'm a business owner and I receive a payment from someone using their credit card, my payment processor is going to take a bite of that. My payment processor is going to take 3 points, 3%. Like if I use crypto and I accept payments in cash using stable coins or even, a volatile asset like Bitcoin or ETH or Sol or whatever, I get instantaneous settlement and there's no middleman taking 3%.
Or telling you that you can or can't,
Right.
make that purchase or make that transfer.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And this shows
that
you two
I know,
completely
fuck
different
that guy.
speeds of a single payment. For you, the customer, it's done. 2 seconds and you're out the door. But for the store, they're sitting there waiting 1, 2, maybe even 3 days before your money actually lands in their account. That's a huge difference, right? So if it's this complicated, who's making it all happen? Because it's definitely not just you, the store, and your bank. No, it's more like a hidden financial dance with a whole cast of invisible partners working behind the scenes. Believe it or not, in every single little purchase, there are at least 6 different players. You've got you, the cardholder, and the store, the merchant. Easy enough. But then there's your bank, the one that issued the card, and the store's bank, the one that acquires the funds. Then, acting like the highway connecting all of them, is the card network, your Visa or MasterCard. And finally, there's the payment processor, the tech company that handles all the messaging. It's a whole crew, all working in perfect sync just so you can buy a sandwich.
Yeah, and they're all charging you a toll every step of the way.
Right?
Every single one.
So who gets paid for all this convenience? Well, let's follow the money on a $100 purchase. The store, the merchant, they might only see about $97.92 of that. So where'd the rest go? Well, that little slice of the pie gets carved up. Your bank, the issuer, takes the biggest piece, about $1.75. The store's bank and their processor get maybe 20 cents. And the network itself, like Visa, gets about 13 cents.
We don't have to live like this anymore, Mike. There's a better way, man.
We deserve better.
It seems like pennies, but multiply that by trillions of transactions a year, and you've got a massive multi-billion-dollar industry built on these tiny slivers. So when you add up all those little slices, it comes out to roughly 2 to 3%. That's the fee merchants pay on every single card transaction. And that is exactly why your favorite little coffee shop might have a $5 minimum to use a card. On a $2 coffee, that fee just eats up all their profit. Okay, so that's the system. But what about the cards themselves? You probably have 2 in your wallet right now that look pretty much the same, a credit card and a debit card. But underneath the hood, they are fundamentally different. It's all your money. Or is it? So a debit card is simple. It pulls money directly out of your bank account. It's your money right here, right now. A credit card, though, is basically a short-term loan. The bank pays the store for you, and you promise to pay the bank back later. Now,
Some people are using it as a long-term loan, which,
I mean, imagine taking out a long-term loan at
20% or 30%. Fuck, man.
Like that's usury, like that's
dude, grab your ankles.
Right. That's like what loan sharks charge.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and some of those credit products that are marketed specifically to low income individuals, it's like, man, they charge some of them like 500%, like those.
it's predatory, like those payday loans. Dude,
Yes, the
that shit's
payday loans,
predatory.
and that stuff is legal somehow. Like it basically made like part of the mafia's business model legal. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
This is a huge deal when it comes to fraud protection. Think about it. If a thief steals your credit card number, they're stealing the bank's money. But if they get your debit card number, they're stealing your money. And getting that back can be a much bigger headache. You know, with all this talk about digital networks and fees and high-speed data, it's pretty easy to forget about the OG, the original payment method that still has some unique superpowers of its own.
You mean gold or silver?
Yeah, yeah,
It certainly isn't this thing.
right?
Let's be real. Cash still does a few things way better than any card. It's totally private, no one's tracking what you buy. It's pretty much universally accepted. There are 0 transaction fees for the merchant. Settlement is instant, you hand it over, the deal is done. And maybe the biggest one of all, it works when the power is out and the internet is down. But even with Cash's amazing strengths, the global trend is, well, it's undeniable. The world is moving away from physical money. And this massive shift is forcing us to rethink our entire relationship with how we pay for things. It's all changing, and it's changing faster than ever.
I mean, just look at what's happening around the world. In Sweden, physical cash is used in less than 10% of transactions. It's actually becoming hard to find places that even accept it.
You know, Swedish meatballs, those are really good, man. I really like Swedish meatballs.
And in places like China and
It used to
India,
be one of my favorite things to go to IKEA for.
I was about to say, man, yeah. Those Swedish
Dude, that's
IKEA
a great place to go
meatballs.
for lunch, man.
Yeah, man, those are really good.
Yeah.
mobile and digital payments have just completely exploded. This isn't just a tech upgrade, it's a deep cultural shift in how we value and exchange things.
Now, this move towards a cashless world comes with some serious trade-offs. On the one hand, sure, it could mean lower costs for businesses, perfect financial records, and less physical theft. But the concerns are pretty big too. What about people who don't have bank accounts? What happens to our financial privacy when every single transaction is tracked?
So the people who don't have bank accounts are actually the ones who are most likely to benefit from this upgrade. However, you see this big eyeball right there? So I don't know if Mike, if you've seen what's going on with like a lot of young people in mainland China, but because everything is cashless and everything's run off of their phone, and they also have a social credit score system,
Mhm.
if your social credit score gets low enough, I guess, then you can just be locked out of a bank account, locked out of everything.
Being able to rent a place to live, I mean, it's
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
So
So
basically, there's a point to where if you get down enough, there's almost no way to get out.
yeah, man. And so that's definitely, and it looks like there are so-called Western democracies like the UK trying to move towards that too. So there are definitely risks with this here.
And how fragile does our whole system become when it completely depends on electricity and internet access to function? You know, understanding how this whole card system works is so important because it shows us exactly what new technologies are trying to fix. Things like cryptocurrencies are basically experiments in solving these exact problems. They're aiming for fewer middlemen or none at all, and way faster settlement times. Of course, they also bring a whole new set of their own challenges and complexities, but it's a fascinating look at how the future of money is being built on the lessons of the past. So, the next time you tap your card, you'll know you're not just buying a coffee. You're kicking off that incredibly complex financial dance that crisscrosses the globe in a matter of seconds. And as the technology changes, from cash to cards to, well, whatever comes next,
Crypto. We're moving towards the mullet.
that's
And
journey
I'll tell you that like my credit card that I use to pay all my bills is a crypto card. And instead of paying a bunch of fees, I actually earn by using it. I earn 2, 3, 4% paid to me in Bitcoin that just goes directly like, as soon as I make a purchase, either automatic or manually. I'll just get a notification like within a couple of seconds, and it will say, $2.25 in Bitcoin was just deposited to your Coinbase account.
Yeah,
And
man. Yeah, that's a pretty cool product that they offer over at
yeah,
Coinbase. Yeah, I like both of them. I don't have the credit card. I saw that they have like a Coinbase launched a credit card product.
yeah,
But I've used their debit card a lot, and I really, really like it. It's just that the way that Coinbase reports purchases is kind of funky. So there's that. But I also like Gemini. These are TradFi products.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think of Coinbase like a TradFi business. It's, even though it's a crypto business, it's like a TradFi crypto business. Gemini too. I think of Gemini in the same way. Um, I prefer the neobank products. So there's a couple of them, and we
Mhm.
can get into this at some point later on this
Well,
week.
yeah,
But
I know that that's part one of the lessons, so, I mean, we can wait to dive into that.
yeah, yeah. So we'll get into that later this week. So Mike, we've got 8 minutes left, and so
Alright.
we could run through the lesson here, or we could take a look at lesson 10, how payment apps work. What do you think?
I'm down for whichever.
Okay, let's go to lesson 10, how payment apps work. This
Yeah,
will
if
be
we
interesting.
can blow through this in 8 minutes, that'll work.
Yeah, I mean, this little screen here, you've got all this random stuff going on in the back end, and this is for TradFi stuff. So let's see, the digital IOU.
We've all done it, right? You owe a friend for coffee, you pull out your phone, open up an app like Venmo or PayPal, type in the amount, and boom.
By the way, I really dislike PayPal and Venmo.
Yes.
My
I
experience
refuse to use PayPal just for the simple
ugh,
fact that when I had my emergency preparedness business, they actually cut me off, cut off my website with no notice because I sold, gun accessories.
so PayPal, Venmo is a PayPal product for anyone who doesn't know. And my experience, Mike, with PayPal has been very similar to what you described, where they will just freeze your money
Mhm.
with no notice, no reason, and they'll hold it for like 6 months, and you can't
Yeah,
do anything about it. And their customer service is horrible.
yeah.
So yeah, I will avoid PayPal and Venmo at all costs.
Mhm.
But it's important to understand how these apps work, though, I
Oh,
think.
absolutely.
Sent. It feels like magic, just pure instant digital money. But what if I told you that what you're seeing isn't actually money moving at all? That this whole system is really built on an illusion of speed? An illusion that's super convenient, yeah, but one that comes with some pretty big trade-offs you might not know about. It's time to peek behind the curtain. All right, so first things first, we have to bust this idea of an instant payment because that number that pops up on your friend's screen, well, it's not quite what you think it is. When you send 20 bucks to your friend, not a single dollar has actually moved from your bank to theirs. Nope. What's really happened is the app has just updated its own internal scoreboard. It's basically a giant high-tech scorekeeper making a note that it owes your friend $20 and, well, you owe the app $20. It's kind of like when you were a kid. If a friend spotted you for a soda, you'd just say, "Hey, I owe you one." No money actually changed hands. It was just an understanding. Well, these huge tech companies are doing the exact same thing, just for millions of people with billions of dollars. So, for every single payment between you and a friend inside the same app, the company is just changing numbers in its own private records. That's it. Real money only actually moves when somebody either loads money into the app from their bank or takes money out of it. Okay, so if it's all just one big IOU system, how in the world does it feel so seamless and so instant? Well, the way they pull it off is actually pretty brilliant. So we think we're sending money straight to our friend, peer to peer. But the reality is that the app is this massive, powerful middleman. Your bank funds the app's big holding account. They update your friend's balance in their app, and only way later, if your friend actually cashes out, does it go to their bank. The app is sitting in the middle of everything.
So doesn't that kind of create the opportunity for the app to like create paper money? Kind of
Yeah.
like it's not real.
So why the magic trick? Why the illusion? It's because the app is willing to take on a little bit of risk just to give you a fantastic experience. They front you and your friend the balance so it feels instant, while all the slow, clunky banking stuff happens in the background. Let's break it down.
So, you could think of these apps almost like a layer three. So, the layer one, let's use Cash App as an example. So, the layer one would be Bitcoin. The layer two on top of Bitcoin would be like the Lightning Network.
Mm.
And then a layer three would be something like Cash App, where it's essentially like this custom app built on top of either Bitcoin or Lightning. And that kind of makes it like I think it makes it kind of like a layer 3. So
Step 1 is the only part that's truly instant. The app changes the score in its database. Done. But behind the scenes, that's when step 2 kicks off. The app begins the slow 1 to 3 day process of pulling that money from your bank account. And if your friend actually wants that cash in their bank account, that's step 3, another 1 to 3 day transfer. So yeah, that instant payment could take nearly a week to actually settle in the real world.
yeah, and so these transfers don't necessarily take 1 to 3 days anymore. They can, many of them be, relatively instant, but sometimes they'll charge you a fee for that.
Of course, a service this slick and convenient isn't really free. So how exactly are these companies making billions of dollars just by helping you and me split a pizza bill? They've got a few really clever ways. There are fees they charge businesses, they offer credit cards, they even analyze your data. But two of the absolute biggest moneymakers are those instant transfer fees, for when you don't want to wait 3 days, and the interest they earn on all the money just sitting in everyone's accounts.
Right.
It's called the float, and it's basically a giant pool of our money that the company can invest and make a profit on.
So this stuff is so important for us as we start to learn more about crypto and DeFi. We have to have this foundation and understand how the payment apps work, how the traditional banking system works, how the US Treasury system works. We understand some of this basic stuff about money first. It will make learning about crypto and DeFi and the complex protocols that we're going to learn about over the coming weeks, it will make that much, much, much easier.
Now this number, this is probably the one most of us are familiar with. You could call it the price of impatience. And let me tell you, it adds up to a huge amount of revenue. Yep, paying about 1.75% is the cost of turning that slow, standard 3-day cash out into a transfer that hits your bank in about 30 minutes. You're literally paying a fee to jump the line that the system created in the first place. But this convenience comes with trade-offs that are much bigger than a few fees. And that brings us to the really important part, the hidden risks of treating your payment app like it's your bank account. And this chart really lays it all out. Your bank account, it's FDIC insured up to $250,000. If the bank fails, the government's got your back. Your payment app balance, usually not insured at all. If that company goes bust, your money could just vanish. If you send cash to the wrong person, it's incredibly hard to reverse. And the company can freeze your account whenever they want, for whatever reason they want, based on their terms of service. You just have way fewer protections.
So when I was using Cash App to buy Bitcoin, my Cash App account actually got frozen because I was buying Bitcoin and sending. Importantly, it wasn't just that I was buying it and sending it off of the app. They didn't like that. So
Yeah.
they took my account away. I used to really like Cash App. It was kind of cool. But yeah, man, real shame about that. So the bottom line here is that they can freeze your account whenever they want to and for any reason. So do you actually own that account? I don't think so. So Mike, we've run out of time. And yeah, man, but we got a lot going on. And Joseph Cupidor is saying XRP fixes this. Oh man.
Oh, he's messing around.
I know, it's all good.
I do believe, because I mean, we do have a couple of people that are still into XRP, and we don't kink shame anybody. If you like having XRP as your daddy, it's all right. We don't mind.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
But some people just like that kind of thing, so it's all good. But no, I appreciate it, David. We'll dive back into this on the next episode tomorrow morning. And I'm going to go and see about setting up money talks. I just heard from Taylor and Jeff. I wasn't sure if they were going to make it, but it looks like they might be able to make it. So if you're interested, we'll be talking about the overall markets. And everyone have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
All righty. Thank you.
Crypto out.